Poverty is rarely just about money. That's the first truth most people never hear. If poverty were only about income, then every raise would fix it, every new opportunity would end it, and every hardworking person would eventually escape it. But we all know that doesn't happen. Poverty is a cycle, and like every cycle, it is sustained by patterns of thinking, reacting, deciding, and surviving. The poverty cycle begins long before numbers enter a bank account. It begins with urgency. When you live in constant pressure, every decision is short-term. You don't ask, "Is this good for my future?" You ask, "Will this reduce today's stress?" And that single shift in thinking changes everything. For example, imagine someone who receives unexpected money. Not a fortune, just a bit of relief. Instead of using it to create breathing room, paying down a debt, building a small buffer, investing in a skill, they spend it quickly. Not because they're irresponsible, but because relief feels rare. The brain, trained by scarcity, says, "Enjoy it now, because it won't last." And the cycle continues. To break the poverty cycle, the first thing you must change is how you relate to time. Poverty thinking is trapped in the present. Growth thinking slowly reconnects you to the future. This doesn't require optimism. It requires structure. One concrete way to do this is to create a buffer, even a tiny one. Saving a large amount feels impossible when money is tight, but saving is not about the amount. It's about training your nervous system to experience safety. Saving €10 consistently does more than saving 100 once. It sends a new message to your brain: I am not always in danger. And that message changes behavior. Another pillar of the poverty cycle is emotional spending. When life feels unfair, exhausting, or humiliating, spending becomes compensation. Not luxury, relief. Food, subscriptions, small pleasures that momentarily restore dignity. The mistake people make is trying to eliminate these expenses without addressing the emotion behind them. That never works. The solution is substitution, not suppression. Instead of cutting every comfort, you replace costly relief with cheaper, sustainable ones. Walking, learning, exercise, routines, structure. These things don't feel powerful at first, but over time, they restore control, and control is the opposite of poverty. Another powerful step is separating identity from income. Many people trapped in poverty unconsciously believe that struggle is who they are. That stability belongs to others. That wealth changes people, and not for the better. These beliefs are rarely spoken, but they shape every decision. For example, someone might avoid applying for a better job because rejection feels personal. Or avoid learning new skills because failing would confirm a painful story they already believe. But escaping poverty requires allowing yourself to be bad at new things. It requires entering rooms where you feel unqualified and staying long enough to grow. One of the most concrete ways to break this cycle is skill accumulation. Not hustle. Not exhaustion. Skills. Skills that increase your value slowly but permanently. Communication, problem solving, technical abilities, organization, discipline. These are not glamorous, but they compound. Consider two people with the same income. One spends time improving how they communicate, learning how systems work, understanding money basics. The other stays in survival mode. After a few years, their lives look completely different, not because one worked harder, but because one invested in leverage. Another overlooked factor is environment. Poverty is reinforced by circles where survival behavior is normalized, where planning is mocked, where discipline feels unrealistic. Breaking the cycle often requires distance, not arrogance, not rejection, but space. You cannot think differently while constantly absorbing the same limiting narratives. That doesn't mean abandoning people. It means being selective about influence. Listening more to those who build, and less to those who only cope. Breaking the poverty cycle also requires accepting delayed gratification. This is not about suffering endlessly. It's about choosing discomfort that leads somewhere over comfort that leads nowhere. Saying no to short-term relief in favor of long-term stability feels unnatural at first. But every time you do it, your identity shifts slightly. Eventually, you stop seeing yourself as someone trying to escape poverty. You begin to see yourself as someone building stability. And that shift is everything. The final and most important step is ownership. Not blame, ownership. Poverty is not always your fault. But staying trapped in the cycle becomes your responsibility the moment you see the pattern. Ownership gives you power. Blame keeps you waiting. Breaking the poverty cycle doesn't happen in one decision. It happens in 100 small ones. Choosing structure over chaos. Skills over shortcuts. Patience over panic. And slowly, quietly, the cycle weakens. Poverty is loud. Stability is silent. And every calm, intentional choice you make brings you closer to a life where money stops being the main source of fear and becomes just a tool. If you want more content like this, realistic, grounded, and focused on long-term change, consider subscribing to the channel. New videos explore mindset, discipline, confidence, and the deeper patterns that shape our lives.